There are three books in the Bible that stand out as wisdom literature: Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job. Each of these books looks at life from a different angle, and when we put them together, they give us a deep and often surprising picture of how God's wisdom really works in the world. Proverbs, the world makes sense. We start with Proverbs. Proverbs is like a guidebook for wise living. It shows us that God has woven order into creation. According to this book, life works on a simple principle: do good, and good will come back to you. Be wicked, and eventually you'll face the consequences. In other words, the world is set up to be fair. The diligent are rewarded, the lazy fail, the honest thrive, and the deceitful are exposed. If you follow God's wisdom, life will go well. That's the clear message of Proverbs. Ecclesiastes, the world isn't so simple, but then along comes Ecclesiastes, and he isn't so sure. He looks at the world and says, wait a second. Life doesn't always play out the way Proverbs says it should. Sometimes the wicked succeed while the righteous suffer. Sometimes hard work ends in nothing. And sometimes life itself feels random, fleeting, and impossible to control. Ecclesiastes uses a powerful image. He compares life to smoke. You can see it, but you can't grab hold of it. It slips through your fingers. So, if Proverbs teaches us that the world is ordered and fair, Ecclesiastes reminds us that life is unpredictable, unfair, and deeply mysterious. Job, the big question. And that leads us to the final book of wisdom, Job. Job takes these two perspectives, the optimism of Proverbs and the realism of Ecclesiastes, and pushes them to the breaking point. The story begins in the heavens in what's described like a divine council room. God points out his servant Job, a man who is upright, faithful, and good in every way. But then an accuser steps forward. In Hebrew, he's called Satan, the adversary, and his challenge is bold. Job doesn't truly love you. He only serves you because his life is good. Take away his blessings and you'll see who he really is. Surprisingly, God allows this test to unfold, and in a moment, Job loses nearly everything: his wealth, his children, his health. It's devastating, and yet in the beginning, Job refuses to curse God. He grieves, but he still declares his trust. The debate, searching for answers. But as time passes, Job's pain grows unbearable. He cries out, cursing the day of his birth. He demands to know why he, an innocent man, has been crushed by such suffering. His friends arrive to comfort him, but their words quickly turn into accusations. They insist Job must have sinned in some hidden way. After all, they argue God is just, and the world runs on God's justice. So Job's suffering must be his fault. For chapter after chapter, they go back and forth. Job's friends invent reasons why God might be punishing him. Job insists on his innocence and demands that God himself explain what's happening. At times, Job expresses deep faith. At other times, he lashes out, accusing God of being unfair, even reckless. It's raw, emotional, and painfully human. God's response: a different perspective. Finally, God shows up in a whirlwind. But instead of giving Job a clear answer, God takes him on a journey through the universe. He asks Job to look at creation in all its vastness and complexity: the stars, the oceans, wild animals, and forces of nature. The message is subtle but powerful. The world is far bigger, stranger, and more intricate than Job or any human could ever comprehend. God never explains the heavenly conversation with the adversary. He never gives Job a direct reason for his suffering. Instead, he shifts the perspective. Can you, Job, run the universe? Do you understand every detail, every life, every corner of creation? The point isn't to humiliate Job. It's to remind him, and us, that God's wisdom goes beyond human categories of fairness and justice. The takeaway Proverbs shows us that God's world has order. Ecclesiastes reminds us that life is fleeting and unpredictable. And Job pulls the two together, forcing us to wrestle with the hardest question of all. Can we trust God's wisdom even when life makes no sense? That's the beauty of the wisdom literature. It doesn't hand us easy answers. Instead, it invites us into a deeper trust, one that holds on to God not just when life is fair and good, but also when it feels chaotic, painful, and beyond understanding. And that's the journey of Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Job, the three voices of wisdom that challenge us to think deeply about life, suffering, and the God who holds it all together.